It's very interesting that you bring, tie, sorry to interrupt
yes,
you,
go
but
ahead.
You tie economic empowerment very closely to security. It would seem that for you, that is even the basis for building any sure security network. But it takes for granted, that if everybody had a job, then possibly we would not have deviance.
No, that's not the point. Just look, is anything happening to Nigeria now that wasn't predictable some 10, 15 years ago? The whole world has been warning that you can't run a country with 30, 35, 40 million youth unemployed.
Now we have about 10.5 children out of school.
So there's nothing happening now, and I submit to you, that really is a great surprise. But this is built up over time. And the reason for me security must be a holistic issue is that we have a job to do, to focus on how to create economic opportunities and empowerment for our people, and at the same time, provide an effective leadership security structure that will not only do more to contain security threats, but to encourage people to go on the right side of history by having options to get out there and do the right thing.
Is that second part now that we're focusing on?
Yes.
Leadership that enables people, that builds a safe security network. You cited the Anambra example. You
Correct.
say that, it's something that you would advise other states to copy. Yet
Correct.
You seem to shy away from the argument for a state police.
No, because it's politicized. And I'm not interested, quite frankly, and that's my view, in running the political argument. I'm dealing with what I see on the streets and in communities everyday life. And here's the point. A state governor, as presently constituted, is the chief security officer in Nigeria for his state. What that means to me is that that governor and his team have got to have a serious security holistic approach. I want to know, for example, if you look at the East, so we don't over-focus on the Northeast and Boko Haram or these political thugs. Look at the East and kidnapping. Many of them are undergraduate students. Many of them have been long unemployed. I'm not saying that that justifies it, but I'm saying that so long as we are not aggressively focusing on economic opportunities and how to empower our people and make the commitment that the job of leadership is to give our people the opportunity to have their dreams and show by leadership and example that we mean that and we can commit to it. Right. We're not able to drive the process effectively.
Let me jump in here. Because you say that it has to be a holistic issue.
Yes.
As journalists, our ears get full about what's going on in every place, even though you can't state everything at the same time. Where do you rank the importance of adequate immigration and border control?
Okay.
Because if we're to plan, you'll need figures, statistics. And if you don't plan properly, they end up putting pressure on your infrastructure, depending on which state you're in. How do we control our borders?
Well, that's a great question. Because when you look at our geographical asset mapping, you will find that one of the greater challenges we face is porous borders. Yes, Nigerian Immigration Service, yes, but they don't have anywhere near what it requires to have any managed process of border controls.
Now, is that supposed to be tenable when they tell us we can't adequately man our borders?
Because just look at the geographical lay of the land. It will require some humongous investment.
Yeah, but it appears as though they are giving up before they try.
Well, I'm not so sure that that's the issue.
No, the Minister of State for the Interior, he says, look, how possible is it? He said it's a huge challenge. We can't control our borders, they tell us time and again.
Yes, but look, just look at part of the challenge areas. The neighboring countries are having the same challenge because when you look at the dollars or the naira and the things we've got to achieve with them, focusing on border control, even in America today, remains a huge problem.
Yeah, but the difference is,
yes,
those countries are doing something. What are we doing?
Well, let me go back to what I think we can be doing, because I think security remains a holistic thing. look at what's going on in the Southeast today. What we find, and you hear a lot of things now about quote-unquote Boko Haram moving to the Southeast. A lot of what we've seen in the last few months are displaced Nigerians internally, internal refugees. They're coming from the north. They're coming from Christian areas. People who have been victims of Boko Haram, who've lost their opportunities to earn a living, and they figure, what's the next best opportunity to find food on the table? And they're moving in their thousands to the east because they think it's a safer ground. And part of the challenge is it's now a big mix of who is Boko Haram and who is looking for work. It's a real issue.
Owing to no fault of theirs.
Absolutely. So what I'm talking about is, and I say this is nothing to do with being a man who sees a lot of what's going on in Nigeria today and appreciates what Jonathan is doing. Let me tell you what the problem I think. There's too much focus in Nigeria on sharing. The challenge we face is that the political structure and politicians focus on sharing.
Sharing our resources.
That's it. That's all they want to talk about. Sharing revenue in particular. Even the resources you have to invest to make him, bring him to a liquid, if you would, monetary situation. The point I'm making is, just go look at it from the National Assembly to the states, the argument of creating states or local governments, or what all of this instability is about politically. And how that impacts security, it's all about sharing formula. People in Nigeria, the structure is so focused on sharing and much, much less concerned with baking.
When you talk about sharing,
yes.
can you also
yes.
Equate that, or rather add this whole argument about politicians being the main cause of our problems? You talked about thugs, whatever name some have chosen to call them, whether supporters or thugs or foot soldiers. They say when elections are over, these are the same people who cause mayhem, and some metamorphose into something else.
Absolutely. And that is indeed true. I mean, if you go back to the Northeast, a good chunk of the foundational members of this group of political thugs called Boko Haram were political thugs for politicians. It all comes out of this business that what we do in Nigeria is how do we position to get a share of the national cake? And people forget that you can't share forever. The baking has to be done.
What do we do to address that?
But that's the point, and that's why, quite frankly, in my view, I continue to look at what Jonathan is doing. And I keep saying this, not because we're looking at the political timetable, but let's focus on the facts. Today, we grow over 85% of the rice we consume in Nigeria. Today, we grow over 58% of the wheat we consume in Nigeria. Today, look at Kebbi, where the government of Kebbi got involved, empowered its people to grow rice, quite frankly, invested in silos, equipment, high-yield fertilizer. And look what happened. Kebbi is a huge supplier of rice. And the governor even issued his people a buyback contract. And everybody's making money in Kebbi State. Unemployment is less than 10%. You don't hear Boko Haram. You don't hear kidnapping. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. So if we go back and start to focus on baking, I mean, look at the whole business of privatization of power. Once we get that going, and we have predictable power supply at a predictable cost, it gives a huge boost to the economy and the opportunity people will have to earn a living and earn to the best of their God-given abilities. That's what democracy must be. Give people the opportunity to achieve to the best of their natural ability what it is they can do. So for me, security is holistic. And we can go on and on about it. But let me say this, and I know we run out of time. The issue is, unless we start to focus less on sharing and how we can, in Nigeria, look at economically viable entities, encourage states to form economic alliances, focus on competitive advantages, what they do best in agriculture, in hospitality, in infrastructural development, unless we focus on what states do best in providing health care, quality education. How do you explain, for example, that in my state, Imo State University, that was ranked in the top 10 universities in Nigeria a few years ago, is today ranked 111 out of 112 universities. And we've lost 12 programs accreditation, including law and medicine, in the last 3 years.
They're not the only one there. I mean, the entire country is reeling from a loss in education system.
Yeah, but guess what? Guess what? That's the leadership issue. Because if a state has responsibility to equip, to tool, to staff, to levels where accreditations are maintained, it's a must-do. There's no story about it.
Okay.
So all of this, I believe, come down to leadership. Nigerians must, for the sake of our country, focus more on the quality of the people that will get out there and provide leadership for us. It's so very important.
And not forgetting the addressing the internally displaced people. Very important point, which you raised.
It's a killer point.
We all should
It's a killer point, and that's something we all, again, must be mindful of, because that's another security threat in the making.
Okay.
There's so many people moving around the country because they become internally displaced people. We got a lot of work to do.
Thank you, Mr. Jerry Chukwueke, speaking about what we have to do about security. And that's where we draw the curtains, actually, today on Sunrise Daily. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Well, thank you. I'm Maokbe Ogun.
Well, many thanks. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
Bye now.